We're coming to you live from the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you are on the free Odyssey app. Good Tuesday morning. Couple of Monday night games last night. One of them certainly affecting the draft order, so Giants fans paying attention to that, as the Vegas Raiders are horrendous. They are really, really bad. They're just as bad as the Giants, if not worse. They had Desmond Ridder playing quarterback last night. It was ugly. It was horrible to watch. So that's going to be, if you want the number one overall pick, that's the team that you're going to be battling for, as we've been saying now for weeks. And you got a good up-close look last night. And the Minnesota Vikings continue to win. What can you say? This is a underdog.
Yes.
Underdog team. No one expected much out of them. I thought they'd maybe have a winning record, but not be this good. And here we are. So it's another win. Fun to watch. The Bears are a mess. They got a lot of work to do in the offseason. They got to find the right coach for that quarterback. But, hey, it's football, man. And we got Thursday football. We got Saturday football. We got Sunday football. It's just unfortunate that we don't have any local teams involved in anything interesting. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, G. I'm doing well. And here's the thing about the Giants and the Raiders right now. If you go to Tankathon, you'll see that the Raiders have the number one pick. But if you go to NFL.com, you'll see that the Giants have the first pick.
Well, what's going on with that?
Well, basically what's going to be, if they're tied at the end of the season with the same record, it'll be a strength of schedule as the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
And if they have the same strength of schedule, then you have to go down to head-to-head if applicable. Best won-loss tied percentage in common games. Minimum of 4 of those.
They're not going to have the same strength of schedule.
All right, so here's the deal. But right now, the Giants have a weaker strength of schedule, which means that they have a higher draft pick. Okay? Even though Tankathon has it wrong, according to NFL.com, it is the Giants have number one and the Raiders have number two. And, you know, that's the based on the strength of schedule, with the Giants are at 541 and the Raiders are at 571.
Yeah, and this is all these years that we have been wanting one of these two teams to get the number one overall pick. It just, this year is a really interesting one because it's not like Shedeur Sanders is across the board looked at as one of those guys like an Andrew Luck when he was coming out, or a Peyton Manning, and we've seen some of these guys. Even a Trevor Lawrence when he was coming out, you know, everybody had him unanimously as the number one overall pick and a can't-miss type of guy. It doesn't feel like Shedeur's that guy. And also you got to deal with the Dion side of it. So it's like all these years that you would have loved for either the Jets or Giants to get the number one pick to get that guy. Even last year with Caleb Williams. Now it's a question mark as the Giants are fighting for it. But, man, if they end up with the number one pick and Shedeur's clearly that guy, I think he does come to the Giants. I don't think that – I mean, he's throwing the ball around with Malik Neighbors. His brother, Dion Jr., was talking about how – people don't know what they're talking about when the Shedeur's not going to go to New York. So I do think that if the Giants beat out the Raiders for the number one overall pick, that Shedeur Sanders will be a Giant.
All right, well, here's what I think. I actually do think that if the Raiders get the number one pick, Shedeur's going there.
Oh, yeah,
it doesn't matter who's ranked higher, who's ranked lower. It really, that is going to be a fit for the Raiders 100% of the time. I believe that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Tom Telesco will believe that, but I do believe
he's their
that.
GM, right?
Right. Mark Davis will believe that.
Oh,
Mark
Davis.
Davis is going to want to have, he's going to want to have the show in town. And it wouldn't even surprise me if Mark Davis offered the job to Deion Sanders and fire Antonio Pierce. That would not surprise me at all, because, it's showtime. They want showtime in Vegas. They want to get fans in that building, and they want to basically take it up another notch. And it just fits. It just, when you see it, it fits. For the Giants, I mean, obviously Cam Ward, his name has been bandied around. Depending on what you're looking at right now, and I don't think I don't even have an answer at this point. My answer would be Shedeur to the Raiders, number one, no matter what. No matter who's ranked higher, I just see that would be the case.
Well, Shedeur will be ranked higher.
I don't know that. You don't know that.
Nah.
And here's the thing. I've looked at 3 different draft sites. Just kind of look, and these guys, they do this for a living. They look at these guys over and over and over again. They know the strengths. They know the weaknesses. They may not know the person, but they do know all the other things that NFL teams are looking for, from arm strength to size to quickness of release, all those different things that you can look at and measure. To me, Jalen Milroe from Alabama is still in the middle of all this thing. You don't hear a lot of him, in the mainstream media. You hear that, he may be a late first-round pick. But, again, we have seen this time and again that the combine, the meetings, all of the things that go into trying to determine whether or not a guy is a fit for you, we still have to go through that entire process before we can really decide who is the guy that's going to be our guy, if in fact it is the Giants, or if it is somehow, maybe the Jaguars. Who knows? But we're a long way from really knowing who and solidifying who number one is.
Well, we're really not that long of a way away from it. I mean, we got 3 games left.
That's a long way.
I mean,
it's a lot of football to be played.
Yeah, but I mean, when we're talking about the beginning of the season to where we are now and how bad these teams are, I mean, it's tough to project a victory for any of these teams. Now, the Raiders do have the Jaguars this week.
Big game.
I mean, it's for the Giants. Yeah, it's huge. And, there was a sign last night as I was, watching both of the games in a, side-by-side 2-box. And I see a Raiders fan, that says just tank baby, of course, on the whole just win baby deal and wanting them to tank. And I'm sure that, Mark Davis is thinking the same things that you were thinking and wants the same things that we were just talking about with Shedeur Sanders. So I would not be surprised if, this Desmond Ridder situation is just what we're going to see for the rest of the year because he can't play. I mean,
and the thing about it is the strength of schedule changes week to week.
Yeah.
You never know. So the Raiders, they have Jacksonville, not a great team, so their strength of schedule is basically going to come down.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have New Orleans, not a great team. And then you have, of course, the LA Chargers, who could be fighting for a playoff spot at that moment, so that could actually ramp up their strength of schedule a little bit. You know what I mean?
And the Giants, they have the Falcons and, of course, the Eagles, the last game of the year. And what is in between there?
So their strength of
schedule. The Rams, right?
Right. So think about their strength of schedule. It's going to go up.
It is. Yeah, they need Jacksonville. They need the Raiders to beat Jacksonville.
They need to have a worse record than the Raiders.
Yeah.
Because I would venture to say that, obviously, the Raiders' strength of schedule will go down and the Giants' strength of schedule will go up.
Do you have the numbers right now and how close they are on Tankathon with strength of schedule?
It's not Tankathon. It's the NFL.
No. I'm telling you, the Tankathon also has the strength of schedule there.
They do, but they have it wrong. According to right here.
They have the numbers wrong or their ranking wrong?
Right. So the Giants' strength of schedule is 541. Okay. The Raiders' strength of schedule is 571.
Yes, you would think that.
Right now.
Yeah.
Now, when you go to Tankathon, they still have the Raiders number 1 by virtue of their loss last night. And I think they're wrong at the moment, but I don't know if they're claiming that the Raiders have a weaker strength of schedule going forward. I don't know if that's factored into this.
Well, one thing I can almost say for certain is that the New York Giants will select a quarterback in this draft, and we'll have another one of these guys to dissect and see if they turn into something. And we've seen many of them come here through the years, in both franchises.
Here's the thing.
We got another one.
Here's the thing I got for you. So you remember when the Panthers traded for that number 1 pick, and everybody just assumed because the owner wanted Bryce Young that it was Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can say this because I do believe this was out there. I think there was conversations within the Carolina building about who would you want, C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, and I think it was a little bit split. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was totally split, but I do think that anytime you're making the first overall pick, there's going to be strong opinions about, different players. And, of course, if the owner wants a certain player, sometimes that is going to be pushing people towards that player just because they want to save their jobs. You know what I mean? Because they don't want to be wrong. And I do remember a conversation that I did have with my buddy Frank, who was the head coach at the time. He goes, I would take either one of these players, Boomer. They're both really good people, good players, and I think they both can win in this league. He goes, I kind of feel like I just want the number 2 pick because I want that first pick out of the way to be made by somebody else, and then the number 2 guy will come to us, and we can win with the number 2 guy.
Yeah, so
if you're the Giants.
Yeah, he felt pretty strongly about both those guys.
Right, so if you're the Giants, maybe you want the second pick and let the Raiders make the first pick, and then the second guy comes to you, it's a slam dunk. That's the guy you're taking, and there's no politics around it. There's no who's the better player, or, around that pick. It's just he's there. That's the guy you're taking. He's unquestionably the next best quarterback, and that's who we want.
Yeah, I also think, though, that it's a unique situation if a head coach, an offensive head coach, likes both of the guys equally. I mean, with as much tape as these guys watch, opinions that they have, I guarantee that Brian Dable is going to have a stronger opinion or like one of those guys more than the other one. Now, he might say, hey, I like this guy better, but I think I could still win with this guy, too. But he's gonna want one of the two more. And I think that you still want the opportunity to pick the guy that you want.
Well, the other thing, too, is let's say the Giants end up with the number one pick, and let's say they know the Raiders want Shedeur Sanders no matter what. No matter what, they want Shedeur Sanders. And the Giants are like, well, maybe you can have Shedeur if you want, but you're going to have to come up and get the number one pick. And they could trade with the number two, and get something in return on top of, getting the quarterback that ultimately they want, maybe Cam Ward.
And then that is the exact opposite of the scenario you just talked about being number two and taking the pressure off and all of that. If you end up trading those picks and you go to two when you had one, and then that two guy that you traded the pick to, and that team is great with their new quarterback, and you could have had him, and you didn't, and you took the other guy, then you're but 10 ways to Sunday.
Yeah, but that's the point. If you have the number one pick, you can either pick the guy that you want, or you could trade out of it, giving the team that really wants a certain guy, because that's the beauty of the draft. Like you just never know. That's the unpredictability of it, of how these teams are going to be evaluating each of these players. And the one thing I will say, both Jalen Milroe and Cam Ward, I can't even believe I'm talking about Jalen this high in the draft, but both of these kids are, dual threat quarterbacks. They feel like they're more dual threat quarterbacks. Shedeur can run if he wants and has run.
Yeah.
But I think he's more of like, I'm going to stay back there and I'm just going to throw it like Caleb Williams. You know what I mean? I'm just going to be in the pocket. I'm not going to be running all over the place.
Yeah, so it's Lambeau Field, and that's what I thought. I was the draft this year. So we had 2025. I'm just thinking ahead for the show, but there's no reason to go out to Wisconsin if the Giants have the number one overall pick.
Yeah, I don't know. If we get a good weather weekend, we go play a little golf out there.
You're going to get a good weather weekend in April in Wisconsin?
You never know. You might get a good, nice spring weekend.
In Wisconsin?
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe.
Believe me, we can go to Sand Valley, go play golf there.
Oh, that sounds great.
We could do a lot of different things.
But we'd have to go out there to be able to, if they're picking Shedeur, it's a number one overall pick. And to have Dion and Shedeur on.
Might have to take the big boss, with us so he can go play golf with us.
Who's the big boss these days?
Tyler.
Oh, okay. Yeah. For CBS Sports Network. All right.
Network,
yeah. That wouldn't be. There'd be worse things than that for sure. But we would have to go out there with a guarantee that the Giants were taking Shedeur. We'd have Shedeur on and Dion on, and be worth it for us, as opposed to just going out there like pigs just to play golf and sit around and do bad shows.
I hear you.
It's not a bad plan B though.
No, it's fine. It'd be good. But if you're going to go out there, you got to go out there for the benefit of sitting down with those guys immediately. And Shedeur's a giant, and Deion Sanders.
Have to worry about. Is there a Yankee game that night?
I always forget about that. Every year we
every
talk
year
about this, I forget
yes.
about this.
I'm sure there is.
Well, remember it's a Thursday, so there's always a chance.
It could be a getaway gay.
Getaway gay?
Good getaway day. Aye.
Getaway gay. Hold on. The 2025. So it's April 20. What's the date? NFL draft date is the 24th. So we'll go to the Yankees schedule. April 20.
Off.
They're off. All right.
Unless, of course, early season rain out makeup situation.
Right.
But at least on paper right now.
On paper.
Right.
I love when we're talking about on paper.
Yeah, why not? How many years in a row, though? We're having fun talking about it, but I feel like this is just every year we get to this point and we're talking about the draft. Where is the draft? Who are they going to pick? Are they going to get a quarterback? Both these teams. It is
It's insufferable.
They're going to hit. One of these teams is going to hit on one of these guys at some point again, like the Giants did with Eli Manning. At some point, it'll happen. Will it be this draft with the Giants? Who knows? I hope so, because you see what happens when you've got one of these guys, and also you got to have a team around them, and like Caleb Williams.
Unless of course you're Josh Allen.
Well, I'm talking about rookie, like a rookie
pretty
coming
much
in.
do anything right now on the football field. The only thing I worry about him is sometimes he gets he gets out of that pocket, and next thing you know, he takes a hit around the the knees or something like that, like he did in the game against Detroit. And you just hope that the indestructible one stays indestructible.
Yeah, and I was more referring to like the rookie quarterback in that first year, and because like if you think about Caleb Williams and what's going on right now with him, and this guy's got all the talent in the world, that offense is putrid. I mean,
the amazing thing that happened to him is exactly what you talk about with the Giants. A coach that had been there, and then they fired the coaches in the middle of the season.
Yep.
Huh.
I mean, and they kept Eberflus last year because the defense played really well the last few games, and it was you just saw it coming that they were going to end up coming out with a rookie quarterback, disappointing. Eberflus gets fired. Now you're starting all over again. You're screwing the kid up, and but then you get a situation like you get Cliff Kingsbury paired with Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn, who's got
again
head coaching,
new coach, new offense, everything new, and you have quality coaches, you have experienced coaches, and you have a rookie being drafted with an offense that was pretty built with that Terry McLaurin in there, and they could run the ball. I mean, and he's had a modicum of success. Now, I would say he dipped here now the last, month or so. I mean, it's not, and I think Dan Quinn's doing a really good job of just trying to, kind of get through these games, let him make his plays where his plays could be made, especially the secondary part of it. His touchdown pass this past week to Terry McLaurin was ridiculous.
Yep. I mean, he had two of them, and it was the first one where
the first one.
Yeah, the first one was incredible. Yeah, I it just shows you that coaching is so critical. It's so critical when you talk about these young guys coming out and who they're getting paired with and who their coaches are. And one of the big things we talked about with Zach Wilson and the Jets, and I don't know if Zach was ever going to be good, but they had that tragedy with Greg Knapp before his rookie season. That was supposed to be the veteran offensive coach that was going to work him along. And all of a sudden, you had all these newbies on that coaching staff, and then they're searching for his quarterback coach in college to try to get this thing going. And they were all, first-time coaches, and it just was miserable for them.
Well, yeah, and it also had to do with the immaturity of the player himself. And then, of course, the same thing happened to Sam Darnold here. And by the way,
Sam actually, true. Sam got eaten up. There's no two ways about it. But Sam actually had stretches where he looked like a real NFL quarterback, where Zach really never did. But yeah, I mean, it's true though. That's what happens when you come here. You just get eaten up in these situations.
Hey Al, do you have any DDT? The poinsettias bugs are back.
Yeah.
No DDT.
Anything to spray these plants with?
Not that you would want to be breathing in there.
At this point, does it really matter? I mean,
the stuff when I leave the building out of the loading dock and they're like pouring bricks into containers and the things that are coming out of that, my lungs are just probably at this point just like whatever. Just bring on the DDT. Whatever you've been sniffing in when you're leaving the loading dock is way worse than that.
I try to hold my breath when I go out that door until I exit. But then even when you get on the sidewalk, they have all that
they got that
cement residue.
Yeah, they got the cement residue. They got the big garbage trucks out there. They're emptying those big steel containers of garbage as they're,
And all the workers have big construction masks on because they know we're just walking through there like, ooh, it's time to go home. Anyway,
well, we got bugs in here.
Yeah,
now.
we knew that was going to happen. It happens every year.
Yeah, I know.
And they pop up, and then we're going to have to deal with it for the next couple of days. And when we come in on Monday the 23rd, and we're the only ones here, and Al and Eddie and Jerry, well, Jerry should be here working that day.
Jerry will be here.
Yeah, that's when these things are going to be dead and gross and bugs everywhere because nobody's going to pay attention to them. That's going to be the day. We're going to be swatting. Bring a fly swatter that day. It's going to be ugly.
All right.
But we're at GL on the Fan and CBS Sports Network.